Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of That's So Matthew. Today, I am so excited to have my friend Michael from DCOM Reviews here today. Say hi.
Hey, what's up, everybody? How's it going?
And today, we have a very exciting topic that I think, as you just said, Michael, that people don't think about too often, and that is Minutemen, starring Jason Dolley and Luke Benward.
Yeah, this is I was telling Matthew beforehand. I mean, I really do like this movie, and it has a list of really good Disney Channel actors.
It really does, and I know that Jason Dolley had been in so many different projects, like before Good Luck Charlie, but like as a kid, I always thought like he was like a newer face. Like going back and seeing him in like Read It and Weep and Minutemen, as well as Luke Benward, who was also in Good Luck Charlie, and Chelsea Kane, and one guy that was in the Vampire Diaries, I think. I don't know. But this cast, like you said, it does have so many of those familiar Disney Channel faces, but it isn't like talked about very often, like at all. I don't like, you always hear people talk about like the older DCOMs, like from this era, like Cheetah Girls 3 or Hatching Pete, but you don't really get from this perspective Minutemen, which I honestly don't understand, because going back, like you said, I really enjoyed this one.
Yes, yeah, I really I don't know. I guess it was kind of the an under the radar type of movie, because definitely there are movies that surround it that are also pretty good, like around the same time frame. But I do think that this one is, it's pretty good compared to all these other ones. So
me too.
Very excited to talk about it.
I love the sci-fi too. I feel like we don't get too many like sci-fi Disney Channel original movies, so I feel like this was like a nice change of pace on the podcast.
Yeah, I think so too. There are some sci-fi, but this is definitely, and from what I've watched, this is probably one of the better sci-fi movies. So yeah. I mean, there is Xenon and that whole trilogy, but if you're talking about like one-offs, I think this is a great one.
Me too. So let's honestly just get into our brief overview for today. So Minutemen came out 13 years ago in 2008, and it came out on January 27th, 2008, with 6.5 million viewers, which I just want to quickly mention this. So this is one of the first DCOMs that I'm talking about since Spin came out and did absolutely horrible with the number ratings.
Yeah, I heard about that.
I like not even 500,000 people watched it.
Yeah, I think it was like barely under 500,000. I don't know. I mean, I got to watch it after the fact, but I thought that's another DCOM for another podcast episode. But I thought it was good. I was just
yeah, I did too. So everyone should go check it out. I will be covering it on the podcast pretty soon, so you'll definitely hear about that soon. But I was just like looking back, like especially for like this DCOM, like you said, that isn't talked about, to like see it have such a higher viewership than Spin, which is kind of crazy to me. I feel I was a little shocked to see that, but this movie did very well with numbers and is written by John Kalorn and David Diamond and David Westman, and directed by Lev L. Spiro. And they actually received a Directors Guild nomination for Outstanding Achievement in Children's Programming, which is very exciting. Another fun fact about this movie is that it actually almost came out like 2 months later, but however, the movie was done, so they sent it out early in January 2008. So lots of fun facts, I think, about this movie, especially like the fact that it was filmed at the same school as Read It and Weep, which also stars Jason Dolley, and where they have the auditorium scene in High School Musical. So,
wow, I did not know that. That's pretty cool.
It is, and I feel like it's such a DCOM like school, and I think it's so cool that Jason was in that movie as well, and also Hatching Pete, which I believe came out in 2009, so he was kind of in his DCOM prime at this point.
Definitely. I know he was in Corey in the House.
Yeah, this was his Corey in the House era, and then he went on to Good Luck Charlie. So he was really popping off like in these couple of years. So let's honestly just get into his character, Virgil, which is such an interesting choice of a name, I think, for a DCOM.
Hmm.
Like usually DCOMs like have like the most basic like Luke or like Andrew, like
Yeah, yeah.
something super simple. So I was like really like intrigued that they chose that name. And I feel like it fits his character too. Cause like they're trying to portray him as like this outcast who isn't like very much like accepted in the school community, which I don't really understand because I feel like there's other people like that in this movie. Like we see Chester who kind of get that same vibe a little bit. So I
Hmm.
felt like it was a little weird, but he also like at the end has like a pretty like good ending considering like they go back and like have to fix everything.
Hmm.
But his
Right, right.
character, like, well, Jason Dolly kind of portrayed like the more shy, like outcast, but as well as like the more popular choice, you know, compared
Hmm.
to like the others and leading the Minutemen, which is such like a fun little group in like the snowsuit guys as they're referred to.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
So I really didn't mind his character. I feel like they wanted us to not like him in the beginning, but I feel like it was kind of hard for me.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely agree. I mean, he's kind of like, not necessarily when you think of a decom like protagonist, right? Or like main person. I mean, I really don't think of Virgil Fox's character, right? You usually think of like you got, the descendants, they're outcasts, but they're still like I feel like they're portrayed a bit better than in this movie. But Virgil is like you said, it's a bit hard to like him in the beginning. But as the movie goes on, I start to like him more and more. And I think that part at least is really well done.
Yeah, I feel like another point about this movie, like besides like the sci-fi that kind of sets it apart, is I feel like we actually got some character development for like the first
Yes.
time in a hot second
Hmm.
on these Disney Channel original movies because we do see him be like a more shy outcast at the beginning and in the end after kind of going through this life-changing experience of time traveling, he doesn't portray himself in that way. And we also see him work on his relationship with Stephanie a little bit. So I feel
Hmm.
like it actually had some like development. And as you guys know on the podcast, I'm totally here for it whenever we do see it.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, definitely throughout the entire movie. Which, if you haven't seen it, dude, please go watch it. I really do like this one. But yes, his development throughout the entire movie is actually like compared to other DComs, well done. I would say. Um, it's something that you can clearly see in his actions, and Jason Dolly does a very good job of showing um, his portrayal of the development without spoiling too much. But yeah.
Totally. And I feel like even in our next character, Charlie, we do have some development, but like in a different way because he is younger and he's considered like a genius. And he
Hmm.
is also an outcast at the beginning. And in the end, scene, which is a little confusing because they are time traveling and they are picking up the pieces of like their big destruction that happens at the climax of the movie. So you do see him kiss uh Kara Crane's character Jeanette. And so it's really like weird because you saw that scene happen earlier in the movie, but now you're seeing it with a different like spin because they're have changed the past in the time traveling to make this reality. Kind of similar to like if you've ever seen the Disney show Best Friends Whenever, they kind of go back and pick up the pieces of like a mess that they made. And we see that with Luke Benward's character. And he's also so young in this movie, like compared to like the
Yeah.
other characters. This was like really before he even got like that chance. He, like we said, he was in Good Luck Charlie and originally going to be in the Zombies TV show before it was dropped and turned into a DCOM, which is a fun fact.
Oh, really? I did not know it was a movie beforehand. Although I did know he was supposed to be in it. Yeah.
And he was also in Cloud Nine, which is a DCOM that came out in
Hmm.
2014, and Girl versus Monster, which is quite the choice, if you ask me. He has such like
Oh,
a
yeah,
wide
yeah.
variety. Like You have Cloud 9, which is one of my all-time favorites, Girl versus Monster, which is like and then you have Minutemen, which is pretty good. So I feel like
Mhm.
he really had his time on the channel, and even starting from this young age, because this was in 2008, but like 4 years before Girl versus Monster, 5 years before Good Luck Charlie, you know. So,
Mhm.
and even his character does have that development of like this weird, like outcast, smart genius boy to at the end, kind of a more widely accepted person because they have kind of changed that reality in a way. So, is their development necessarily like in the real world of this movie? No. But in the plot, it kind of works, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. I see what you're saying. It definitely is confusing. And uh, I think Charlie, which is Luke Benward, I think the issue with the whole because he's I feel like he's too young. Although that is what obviously the movie is supposed to be getting out with his character. He's a boy genius, and yeah, his character development it's a bit spotty, I would say, and maybe it's not the right word, but he's definitely um, not as well developed as Virgil.
Yeah, I agree. I just think that I don't know if it was just like him not having like Virgil does have like that love interest kind of going on with Stephanie, and Charlie doesn't really see that until the very end. So I think that's kind of like the problem is that we don't have like that character to character like connection with him. Not necessarily that he's younger. I just think his character didn't really have too much going for him,
Mm.
unfortunately.
Yeah, other than his genius trait, I
Yeah,
think
and that
I'm gonna
he
have to agree with
stole
you.
NASA's data, which I feel like that I have so many questions like about the one part of like how does NASA, which is like a space like association, like get involved with time travel?
Yeah, I'm not too sure, but I mean, uh, yeah, I don't know.
I was
We'll
thinking
see.
like in the middle of the movie, I was like, wait, what? Like what's going on? But and also he's like they say he's like 9 years old or something, right? In the beginning, he's younger than everyone
Um,
else. But
yeah, I
then
think
he's going to kiss Jeanette.
yeah, okay. So that is another part of his thing. It that's when you really think about it, that is so awkward.
It's really
I'm not
awkward.
gonna lie to you. Let's just say he's 9 years old because I think he's right either 9 or 10. That's
Yeah,
awkward.
that I believe
Um,
that's what they
um,
said.
yeah. So then this takes me back to Star Wars with the prequels with Anakin and Padme. Um, you know, it's kind of like what's going on here?
Yeah, I do have some questions for Disney. I think that's the one part about this movie that I'm really confused about in that sense because they never say that Jeanette's younger. She's just like more awkward character
Mhm.
outcast. So very interesting. I think that's my one thing that I want to just kind of like get some clarity on from this movie. However, our next character, Zeke, which I feel like is a really common DCOM name because we have Zeke in High School Musical as well. He is more of like a like I don't want to say like a bad boy, but he is more like of a rebel, if you will, than the other two of the group.
Mhm.
And I feel like he didn't really have too much going for him. Like we have Nicholas Braun, who does sound like more of a familiar name now after being in Princess Protection Program and other movies, Perks of Being a Wallflower. But on Disney Channel, he doesn't really have that like same presence, if that makes sense. And it
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
like feel, I don't know, I didn't really get too much going for him on that in the movie.
yeah. I completely agree with you. Except for he has this grappling hook, in the movie, and that becomes a joke that I think is it's pretty well used. But the payoff is it's meh. I mean, like, oh, that's cool. He actually used it, and then move on. That's I don't know. His character seems very like they threw him in there because they needed a third guy.
Yeah, I agree. It just felt very lackluster, very nothing like not like Luke Benward's character, even though he didn't have like too much going on for him besides the genius, he actually had like some substance in there. With Zeke, it just kind of felt like you said like the grappling hook, but you didn't have much else going on with him. and he kind of just showed up from time to time and would be there with Charlie and Virgil. So I don't know. I wish I had like more to say about him, but unfortunately I can't really give my best comments.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. It's not very very well done character in that sense, but he has some good, I guess, moments in the movie.
Yeah, he does have those good
Yeah.
moments. So it makes more like it does make sense. I feel like to have some of those moments over time. So yeah, I think that's all I pretty much have to say for Zeke. However, for our next character, Stephanie, who's played by Chelsea Staub, I do have some comments about her because I have such like mixed feelings about her because we kind of have like a more nice girl friend, and then you have the kind of more like popular girl side that she has. So like I feel like even and Virgo still likes her too. So I don't know. I just felt kind of like conflicted. Like, is she like nice? But in the end, she was nice. If that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. I'm trying to make sense of your thing. I mean, I understand it. I'm just trying to put it into words, but yeah, I understand it. It's not. I don't know. I'm conflicted too. It's just really and we'll talk. I forget their third friend's name, but I just get so conflicted with him and then Stephanie because she has kind of a two-faced approach, I guess. And I don't know if that's trying to like tell us something or if it just happens, but
Yeah,
it's definitely something that it seems off. Um, yeah,
I
I don't know.
agree. Like we have Derek, who is played by Stephen R. McQueen, and he was Virgil's best friend, but now he's
Okay.
dating Stephanie, like you said. So we kind of see like her kind of go against Virgil in that sense, like because they are still friends, but there's like a weird confliction between the two, but they still get along well. So like
Yeah,
I totally get what you're saying. It's weird.
it's weird because in the end of the movie she's I'm gonna butcher it. She says something like she basically says I like you too, right? Or
Yeah.
something of that nature. I'm not, but anyway, then she's still with what's his name again?
Oh gosh, I already forgot
Derek.
it. Derek, yes.
You say Derek, but then she's still with Derek and she still talks with Virgil. So it's really weird. Like, it's um I don't know. I mean, I guess I get it in the whole formula sense where she's a cheerleader, Derek's the football like captain star, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so like that part I can kind of justify, but then I don't. Yeah, it's like you said, it's just weird. It's not something that's like, oh, okay. It's like that's just, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I do feel the same way. I just feel like there is that tension, and I'm almost wondering because in the end we know that they did time travel and fix a few things. So what like it's possible that maybe in this reality that they have created in the end, uh she likes him because she's not with Derek, but I don't like it's just so vague and it's kind of it's a longer decom, but the ending felt a little bit rushed in that sense.
Mm. Yeah, it's very weird because they do pop in before, or I guess at the end of the movie, they they time travel back to a point where it's before she figures out they time travel, right? Stephanie figured out for the time travel.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that means that she always liked him or if the stuff that they corrected somehow made it so that she ended up liking him or like I don't I don't really know. It's
Yeah,
very
it's a little messy, I guess, in that sense because it's so undescribed. And like also another thing is, like you said, she finds out about the time travel, but Virgil's the one who like told her, like he like thought that she knew, and then like she said that she thought that they were psychic, and I just thought that it was like kind of a weird thing, but like it also created that connection between the two that we didn't really see before, if that makes sense.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have to say about Stephanie. And we can quickly touch on Derek. The only thing I really want to talk about with Derek is, like we said, he is a football player. He is dating Stephanie, who's a cheerleader. It all kind of just fits in with that formula, like you said. But he finds out about the time traveling and like uses them for his own good. And he doesn't want to be friends with Virgil because he wants to be popular, which I don't totally understand, considering like I feel like time traveling is popular, but like he knows now. So, I just feel a little like conflicted.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know, I've never quite understood that. And maybe that's just growing up by like I really just didn't matter to me. But I mean, anyway, like that is really a I get it. I just have issues with it because Virgil, he can't see what's happening right in front of him. And Derek is a lying piece of trash, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um and it's I don't like him, and you're not supposed to, and that's good. It's just like, oh, why can't you see what's happening in front of you, Virgil? But then, yeah, Derek, I don't like him, and yeah.
Yeah, I don't like him either. So we were on the same page with that. And then the last character I just really want to talk about, we kind of touched on a little bit, which is Cara Crane's character, Jeanette, who is like the quirky girl, and she has a crush on Charlie. Now, like we said, I thought they said that Charlie was only 9 or 10. So I'm so confused as to like, is she like younger? And
Yeah,
it's such an
they
awkward
they
thing.
don't have her age in the movie, I don't think. And if they did, it was probably like a line that I missed or something.
Mm-hmm.
But so let's because okay, wait. So I'm pretty sure he's either 9 or 10 because now that I'm thinking about it, there's a line where they're in PE and he says something like you're 2 years out of your driver's license. And that's when you're 16. So maybe he's 9, 10 in the beginning, and then he's 14 at the end, or yeah, when they're 4 years later. So I mean,
Oh,
either way, Jeanette's been at the school for a couple years at least because there's another line where Zeke is like, dude, she's liked you for a while, or like a couple years now, and
mhm.
I don't know. It's weird because let's just say she's younger, right? Let's just say when they're seniors, she's a junior, right? That would still make her what are you like 16? Yeah, I was 16.
Yeah,
But then he's 14. So that's a 2 year difference, which I mean, in high school, I feel like that means a lot though.
it
Because
does.
um I don't know. It's very when you pick it apart like this, it seems really weird. Anyway,
Yeah.
um
So we won't
her
really push that.
well, I mean, if you want to talk about it, I just feel like there's a lot that goes unsaid, and that really creates these issues in like age gap difference. I don't know.
Yeah, there are some, like we said, so many plot holes. Like we have the age, and then also at the end, like what did they do in the reality now that Stephanie likes Virgil? Like what's going on? What happened to Derek? Like are Virgil and Derek still friends? Like there are that ending, and it just kind of ends in like a brief, just like ending, and it was over. So
Hmm.
I totally get that. That just kind of there are some small little things that don't really add up, but I feel like it's not a DCOM without plot holes. So
That I'm gonna have to go with you on that one.
it just honestly, and I feel like this one does a really good job though of not making it too bad, but you got to know there always is something going on. So
Mhm. Yeah, and the whole Jeanette thing with the birds, I thought was kind of funny, but you kept saying the jokes. And I'm like, okay, how many more birds are there?
uh-huh.
She goes like, oh, my kookaburra, or my that's not what I remember.
I
Or
just kind of got a little the joke kind of got a little repetitive.
yeah. That's what I'm trying to say. Repetitive. Oh my gosh, words.
Words, I know.
Um, um, but yeah, it was funny like the first couple times, and then I was like, oh, geez, really? There's another bird joke. Anyway, that's the
Yeah,
only thing I have on
I
this
feel
last thing.
you on that one. So honestly, let's just get into the plot of this movie. From the very beginning, we see group, the trio. We have Virgil, Derek, and Stephanie, and they are trying to like try out various things. So something happens, and Derek tries football, Stephanie tries cheerleading. However, everything just kind of happens and explodes when Charlie comes in as he comes across the football field that Derek is on, as well as Stephanie, and out of the rocket car. So from the very beginning, I feel like we see this really weird, like spacey aspect almost with Charlie, because he is a young genius. So it's kind of like, oh, he's cool. He has a rocket car. He's so smart. Like it's just constantly like pushing him up and putting him higher up on that pedestal of being the smart kid. And then he is younger. Like we said, we're thinking 9 or 10, but everyone starts harassing Charlie. And I feel like it's just like the classic, like DCOM, like popular bully thing going on here, where someone comes in to help and then he ends up getting bullied as well. And it's just kind of a mess. And we see them dressed in cheerleading outfits. And they're hanging by their underwear pretty much. So we have a rough start. And I feel like this kind of separates like Stephanie and Virgil as well as Derek from each other in that way, setting up for like the spacey time travel aspects. So we see that this is 3 years later, it says. So I guess you're right. He could have like aged a little bit. Well, I mean, obviously you age every year, but that does make a little bit more sense. I'm kind of just reading off like kind of like the main plot points. And it does make sense now thinking about it, but it's still a little weird. It's still a little.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure they're in their senior year of high school. Both Charlie, well, all the main characters. Yeah, it's weird, but yeah. Anyway, continue.
Yeah. So now we have found out that Charlie has invented a time machine. So honestly, I feel like it's super like out of the blue almost to be like, oh, I built a time machine. And so they become friends with Zeke. And so they decide that they're going to try out this time machine. And what are they going to do? They're going to buy a lottery ticket in the past. So, but then they're underage because you have to be 18 to buy a lottery ticket, I believe. So they kind of have like this first thing, and the street performer that they wanted to buy it for you, like, have someone else who's older buy it for you, ends up winning. So they already have like screwed up the reality in a way because they didn't do it correctly. So we are seeing damage being done in the timeline. And I feel like they're not thinking about like what could come out of that.
Yeah. I think that's a very like, we call it, it's not necessarily DCOM, but it's like a whole like teenage like, oh, let's do it to get rich, you know what I mean? And I'm sitting there watching it, even my first time I was like, oh dude, this is gonna end horribly. And and then it happens, and then they try to do some more, and then but it's a good, I feel like it's a good introduction to the whole time travel thing. Make sure that it was done correctly. Or not correctly, it was accomplished.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like it was great to like kind of see them try it out. They were testing the waters themselves, and they didn't really know like what the consequences would be. So I was like kind of interested, and they finally decide that they need to undo mistakes by their classmates. And so it becomes this weird like thing, and they're known as the snowsuit guys because they run around in these big, cool white suits, as you see in the movie poster. And
no, continue. Sorry.
No, sorry. I was just gonna say that it's kind of like funny because like they wear them because of like it's supposedly so cold in the portal. Like it just kind of like feels funny because of like how they're known as like the snowsuit guys, and then they want to be called the Minutemen because it's like time travel, like minutes. So I was like kind of
Mm.
like getting a kick out of it because I feel like they were taking it like so seriously at that point.
Yeah, and also the thing with them saving all the people, I think it was like just saving the nerds.
Mm-hmm.
It that the consequences that arise from that are very weird. Like I don't know what the message is supposed to be, really, because they're helping out the people that are getting bullied, right? They're helping out the bullied, but
Mm-hmm.
then those same people turn on the like I guess the dorky kids. It's really like a weird thing. Like in this part of the movie, I believe Chester, um, in classic DCOM fashion, I think, because this happens in High School Musical 3, um, takes the um, takes the kids' clothes out of the locker room and makes them run around naked, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then to fix that, the Minutemen give him new clothes, and then but then that arises to like he becomes too cool for the dork group and then moves over to the popular table, which um, obviously changes things. And then Chester shuns them, and I'm like, what's like that's so like a table flip almost, or yeah,
Yeah, I
I
get
don't
what
know how
you
you felt
mean.
about that.
It's just weird because like they don't like think about the consequences of changing like the time, like changing the timeline. And so when it ends up being worse than it was before, I think that's like when they kind of start realizing that they're making this mistake and they don't know how to undo that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like
Right.
kind of where they start to realize that they're kind of getting into some trouble. And so they people are calling them like heroes, but then you have the principal who does not like that they're not being like ideal students and they're causing trouble for the school. So it is just he decides that he needs to go back and hack into NASA to steal the files. So he is like we said, he's rather young. So I feel like it's really hard for them to do that. And they don't want people to use the time machine because they don't know like what is going to happen now. And I feel like that's when they finally started realizing like all the trouble that has happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it gets really messy because we see that Stephanie has broken her leg due to cheerleading. And so he basically wants to go back so that she doesn't fall.
Right. So she can get her scholarship, I believe. Right.
Yes. So it
Okay.
just, even though he shouldn't, does it anyways. And it just kind of works. It doesn't work out because then you see Derek has that bad loss at the state championship. So Stephanie's like, can you help him out? And so it starts to get to the point where Virgil's using this for his own good and for like his popularity and friendships rather than like the time travel aspect.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that is the character development that I think is decently done in this movie. Is like, yeah, you totally see it gets to his head, um, using time travel to gain more status in high school, which it works, but it definitely does get out of hand. Um, yeah.
Yeah, it just gets to the point where everything is just so messed up. And so he decides, Derek says that she does not want Stephanie to find out about Derek cheating. So now we find out that Derek, who's already been a jerk, is cheating on Stephanie. So he's really a jerk now. So he
Hmm.
wants Virgil to go back and stop that from happening. However, he realizes that he does have feelings for her at this point. So it's really just become like this mess of trying to clean up after everything that happens and then creating a bigger mess because now we have Virgil who isn't really like on that relationship level, especially with Derek being with Stephanie until the breakup kind of thing. Now he has feelings for her, even though like they're not really friends, but they kind of are friends. It's like kind of really, it's just at this point, they're in just a complete mess.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, um, I do think he had feelings for her way back in the beginning of the movie, but it's not really like, yeah, what's the word? It's not really shown to us
Yeah, I was gonna
And for
say I
this,
feel
I
like
completely missed it.
it's just been internalized for so long, and then he finally realized that like, it did happen. So, you know, he can't like deny it anymore because of all he's done
Mhm.
for her at that point.
Yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, it definitely becomes a hot mess. And even NASA steps in, I think, at this point, right?
Yeah,
Or
this is
that
when they
NASA's
start
in the yeah.
coming in, and so the FBI somehow gets involved with like top government scientists. And so apparently now we're bringing in the space aspect with NASA because I wrote this down in my notes because I knew I wouldn't remember what it's called. It's called the space-time continuum, which creates
Mhm.
this black hole.
Yeah,
So
classic scientific or sci-fi
yeah, I was
slang.
going to say classic doomsday sci-fi kind of going on here. And then we see that they have only like 4 hours, I think they said they need to
Yes,
go
yes. Okay.
into the black
Yeah.
hole, which is putting them at risk, obviously, and creating a like venture of them at the climax to fix everything and close it.
Yeah. So that also kind of confuses. Well, I mean, we'll get to that, but that really confuses me what their goal is once they get into the black hole. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm so confused as to what they were supposed to do because obviously um Virgil figures out that it's the same day as the incident, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know what they're supposed to be doing if the incident or if they hadn't landed on that day.
Yeah, it just makes there are, like you said, there are plot holes, if you will, a black hole in the plot, like to the point where it is weird because you're right. How, if they wouldn't have gone to that day, would the black hole still exist? How would they fix it? Like
Mhm.
it
Right,
doesn't
right.
make 100% sense, but I feel like this is when it gets really, really weird because now they're going back to that first day that we saw. This is like the key like moment that changes everything essentially because we have um Virgil who realizes he can stay popular. We have Charlie, uh he hates this day and he needs real friends, and so he watches this whole thing unfold essentially again, but Derek doesn't defend him. So it's so like weird because now we have the three, Virgil, Charlie, and Zeke, who essentially weren't friends at that day. They reunite with each other in that rocket car that we saw at the beginning. And they go and they race into this black hole to close it. But I'm so
Yeah,
confused
like
because how did Zeke get involved in this?
right. Just because I that in the beginning of the movie he wasn't really involved except
Mm-hmm.
for actually no he wasn't. So he's just there.
Yeah,
Which
I'm
is
just
what
a
this is
little confused.
which is why like I said it feels like he was just thrown in there as a third character like we need a third character. Okay, get Nicholas Braun, we'll name him Zeke and he's a uh mechanic dude. All right, cool. I don't know. That's just what I feel like that kind of meeting happened. But yeah, you're right. It's very if you poke at it too much, you get a big plot hole there. But anyway, that leads
Yeah.
to my favorite part of the movie, which is the whole grappling hook joke.
Mm-hmm.
I say favorite sarcastically because I thought they could use grappling hook to like climb something, but no, it's just to redirect the rocket car. And then I was
Yeah.
sad. It's like, oh come on,
It was a missed
because
opportunity, I think, of the joke.
yeah, yeah. I thought because every time they wanted to save somebody or change an outcome in the past, he would always bring his grappling hook and they're like, oh, why do you need it? Oh, because we need a grappling hook. I was like, okay, there has to be something really fun with the grappling hook, and then they use it to turn the car, and then he lost it, and I was like, oh, really?
It was very anticlimactic, like you said. Like for this being like the final like 5 minutes, maybe 10 at most, it felt like you said a little just there wasn't much going on. And at this point in the movie, we do see that kiss happen between Charlie and Jeanette, and Virgil wins Stephanie's heart. And so now we have Charlie talking about teleportation, and it kind of like does leave us on a little bit of a tease, like maybe there might be a second one, but as we know, there isn't a second one.
Right.
So I think one of my biggest things about like standalone DCOMs is I think one of the biggest ones I can think about at this moment is Upside Down Magic, which came out last year. They do have like a sequel tease, but we don't really think that a sequel is coming. So why do they like do that tease if they don't think that anything's going to happen, you know?
Right. And yeah, I'm gonna say right now, I hope Upside Down Magic has a sequel that does better than the first one, because
Mm-hmm.
I know the first one it was okay. It was a good use of CGI, which in this movie, Minutemen, the CGI, although it's clearly on a budget, I feel like it does well. Like the whole black hole thing, it seems mysterious. It's eating up the field, you know. Um, like that's cool. When they create the time machine, and they like spin around in 2D when they jump in, I think that's pretty fun.
Yeah, I think that the
Especially for the time.
CGI for this time was amazing for Disney Channel.
Yeah. Which ties into Upside Down Magic, because I feel like the CGI was really well done
It
in that
was.
movie. Because you have other ones like Descendants. I feel like the CGI was not necessarily the greatest.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, Upside Down Magic is uh is a pretty good movie to show off, like all that new CGI with the fireballs and the even the chimera esque like fluxing, I guess is the right one. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's not the movie
It
we're talking
was.
about.
I just wanted to kind of throw that out there just because I did feel like they were teasing for something, but nothing like we know will never happen. It's been 13 years. So
Mhm.
I just thought that was an interesting comment. So we have pretty much reached the end here. And so going back to like your account, you reviewed this was one of your very first reviews. So I'm just wondering if
Yeah.
your thoughts have changed since that first review.
Well, let me take a second to go back and check my rating on it. Yeah, this is my third ever review, actually, all the way back January 2020, and I gave it an 8 out of 10. Let's see. Yeah, so I think I'll maybe, since we've been poking at the plot holes, drop it down to a 7, 7.5. So not that much of a drop, but I mean, it's it's one of the best sci-fi DCOMs out there. If you're looking for like a sci-fi one, there is a lot to love about this movie. I know we picked it apart and exposed a bunch of the plot holes, but you just don't think, if you don't think about those like too in depth, then I think you'll really enjoy it. So in that regard, I wouldn't change my opinion too much. But at the same time, picking apart these plot holes, I'm sitting here like, wait a minute, what's there's a lot of what's going on here.
Yeah, I agree. I would probably have to go with like a 7. The movie itself isn't bad from like a farther away point of view, like you said, but once you start like picking it apart and doing what we do here on That So Matthew, you do notice that there are some just little things that aren't my favorite. There are some plot holes. There are just little things that we need some clarity on. However, I think that if you are looking for a Disney Channel original movie that you've never seen before, I would say that this is a really safe bet. I think that everyone
Mhm.
would actually enjoy this movie. I think that it's just something a little different than the basic like high school, like popular versus unpopular kind of thing going on. So I have to give it props for that. And it's 2008. I think it just has that feeling of nostalgia from the very
Mhm.
beginning.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I saw this for the first time when I reviewed it last year, and I was blown away by how much I liked it and how much I still like it after watching a second time. and reviewing it. Like, it's one of those where I would be down to watch it another time, maybe not soon, but yeah, it's one of those movies where if you haven't seen it, go watch it. You'll have a fun time. You'll see a really young Luke Benward, as opposed to his roles in Good Luck Charlie, Girl vs. Monster, like you said, and Cloud9. I mean, it's really cool to see him, be in that position, because I saw him first in Good Luck Charlie, when I watched it in full last year during the beginning of the pandemic. And yeah, it's just fun to see him in a totally different role, because he totally pulls both off well.
I agree. And I am very glad that you picked this one to talk about today on the podcast. And I had a great time, and I hope everyone who was listening enjoyed the episode. Where can people find your account and reviews?
So it's on Instagram. It's called DCOM.reviews. I have at this point reviewed every single DCOM that there is. And there are a couple that will be I'm calling something. I'm not sure yet. But it's, High School Musical 3 isn't really a DCOM, since it had a theatrical release. I'm pretty sure 16 Wishes is on the fringes there, Harriet, Blog Wars, and I'm not sure, there's another one called Punks. I have never seen it on any lists, but I know that it has like a sort of DCOM thing. I'm not sure, but those are like the four that are like DCOM-y but not. So definitely reviewing those. But yes, Instagram at DCOM.reviews is my Instagram page. I have a whole lot of reviews, and leave comments. I will definitely try to do my best to answer them, or my DMs are always available, to talk about DCOMs. And and
Awesome.
Thanks for listening. And Matthew is such a good podcast host. He has a lot of good episodes that you should listen to if you ever get the chance. So
Thank
and I was being a guest
so much. It's always great to have you. I feel like our episodes are just so fun, and I feel like to have someone like you to pick apart these DCOMs and all their little plot holes is always such a great time. So thank you. I will also link your Instagram below in the show notes for everyone. And if you want to find me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook, just look up That's So Matthew. And my username is That's So Matthew, all one word, to find all my fun stuff. And you can check out my website, that'ssomatthew.com, for all the fun stuff there. And I think that's about it for today's episode. Thank you everyone so much for listening. Thank you again, Michael. And I'll see you guys all in another episode again soon. Bye.
See ya.